All right, we'll call the January 26th annual meeting of the Sherburne County EDA to order. Recognition of new committee members, Dan?
Let's do a roll call first. We'll go around the room yet.
Okay.
Todd Maloney's brand new, so just give your name and who you represent.
Okay, I'll start. Rand Danielowski, Sherburne County Commissioner.
Molly Hanson, Delaware YMCA.
Jessica Bartle, Sherburne County Economic Development.
Herb Schneider, county planner.
Andy Weller, American Heritage Bank.
Dan Weber, Sherburne County.
And I'm Todd Maloney from, well, I was on the Livonia Township Board for a while, and then, Dan had asked if I would want to join the group, so, after a little while, I said yes.
And you're also a business owner?
Yes, I'm a business owner. I own North Star Truck Sales in St. Cloud, and also a land developer in Sherburne County, residential.
Fantastic. And I'm Ken Giroux. Okay.
So new members, Todd is obviously a new member. Mr. Voller here was reappointed for a 6-year term. Rayanne is back on the, Commissioner Danielowski is back on the committee, and then Andrew Hulls was also appointed to be on the committee, but he is at a new commissioner training down in the cities right now. So those are our new members.
Do we recognize Laura online?
Oh yeah, Laura, you want to introduce yourself?
Maybe not.
Or I can do it for her. Laura Kangas from Arvik.
Oh, okay.
Election of officers. We do need to appoint a few positions, and the first one would be an EDA chair. Ken was the chair last year. He'd be willing to do it again if so nominated, so I'd be looking for nominations for the EDA chair.
I will move to nominate Ken Giroux as our chair again if he graciously accepts.
Second.
Whoa, you didn't even give me a chance.
You feel the train?
Wasn't even nice. Yeah, you know the standard answer, willing to do it unless anybody else wants to jump in and find stuff enough, so.
Any other nominations? Okay, let's vote for all in favor of Ken Giroux as our new EDA chair.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I'll turn it over to you.
What other officers do we have to appoint? I think, in our pregame, you were just gonna kinda handle the housekeeping.
I can do it.
So I'll let you run through that.
The vice chair was Andy last year, and he is once again willing to serve. So looking for a nomination for the vice chair.
I'll nominate that.
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass, congratulations. EDA secretary, Laura is on the line. She has also graciously said she'd be willing to hold that position again, so looking for a nomination for EDA secretary.
I will nominate Laura for our EDA secretary.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up is EDA treasurer. That was Sheldon Poole last year. Sheldon is no longer, has replaced Sheldon, so looking for an EDA treasurer. They don't really have to do a lot. It's something we have to do. So, Todd, would you be willing to take that position?
Yeah, as long as it's not a lot of
There's,
bookkeeping.
there's actually no work.
Okay, all right.
It's just something
Thank you.
statutorily we have to have.
I'm in.
All right.
Sounds like a great position.
Yeah, right.
So looking for a nomination for EDA treasurer.
I would nominate Todd.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Assistant treasurer, this one's even more challenging, but Jared did it last year wonderfully, so looking for a nomination for EDA assistant treasurer.
I would nominate Jared if he would do it again.
Second.
Second by Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congrats, Jared. Next up is executive director. I served in that role last year, and I'd be willing to do it again as staff. Looking for a nomination for executive director.
I would nominate Dan as executive director for 2023.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of last month's meeting agenda. or of this meeting agenda, sorry, we had to get the positions in place. So looking for approval of the meeting agenda today.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is passed. Meeting minutes from last month. December 15th, looking for approval of the meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of official newspaper, that would be the Becker Patriot News this year. It matches the county's board official newspaper, so looking for that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The official depository would be the Bank of Elk River, which also matches the county board official depository. Looking for a motion there.
I had one question.
Yeah.
Just curious, and I think I've asked this before, and I'm just curious now that the county has grown and we've added some more banks to what we have traditionally had in the past. What is the rule of thumb as to how we look at those things going into the,
That's a good question. I know how we do the newspaper, but I don't know about the bank, so I'll check with Diane on that.
okay.
Are you still okay with Bank of Elk
Yes,
River this year?
yes.
Alright, so looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Greta and Todd, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 10, designation of place of meeting during the calendar year. Does the boardroom still work out for everybody? Well, obviously you'd like it a little closer, but.
Yeah, I apologize.
All right, looking for a motion for the county boardroom as our place of meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Determination of dates for this year's calendar. Other than today, we typically meet the third Thursday of every month, so I did include a list of dates in the meeting packet. Does 8:30 still work, or is there a more opportune time for people? This is one we could have a little discussion on.
8:35 would work for me.
8:35? Then would you just be here at 8:40?
8:35.
We could do 8:35. Well, that would give everyone a little more time to get here. Any other feedback?
Works fine
I'm
for me.
good with
8:30?
or 8:35.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Jared, were you serious or was that in
No,
jest?
no,
Oh,
that was just a
all
joke.
right.
Sorry.
All right,
I
we'll
was
do 8.
dealing with an unruly 4-year-old this morning, so.
8:30 on the days listed in the meeting packet, or in the board packet. Looking for approval of those dates and time.
I'll move to approve the meeting dates for 2023.
I will
second.
second. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 12 is discussion of bylaw enabling resolution changes. We do not have any at this time. We are going through the strategic planning, so we might bring those back at a later date as we choose our priorities. So for now, we don't have any action on those, but more information. Revolving loan fund, for those of you that have been on the committee for a while, we do have a revolving loan fund, and I just wanted to pass on that all payments are current. We haven't had any defaults with that, over 10 loans. And actually, we've had 3 businesses that have moved on to a bigger location, so that's been a very successful program. Community partner meeting, I sent an invite out probably 4 or 5 weeks ago for a meeting at Sunken Ship on February 15th. It'd be great if you could be there. It's one of our revolving loan fund success stories. Luke Reiner and Kelly Ash will be there to talk about demographics in the area, and then Mark will also be giving a comp plan update and getting feedback from the group. So that's from 1:30 to 3 on the 15th. And then they'll open up the tap room for us afterwards as an extra incentive if everyone's interested. Next up is mission and vision statements. I'll turn it over to Jessica for that portion.
All right, so I'd really love to get this wrapped up so I can quit emailing everybody about the mission and the vision statement. Does anybody have any feedback? Like, I would like to just go right around the room and get feedback on the mock vision and mission statement. And my plan is to just write down what you guys say and make modifications, and then we'll get that finalized moving forward. So, Molly, can I start with you?
Yes, and I read it when it first came out, but then I have to reread it.
Okay, do you want to
But I didn't have any initial, like, oh, I would change that. I'm not a good wordsmither, but I think it captures pretty much everything that the feedback was sent in.
Does everybody have a copy? I have copies.
Why don't you pass them on, just
Just
to,
That saves me from.
because that was not included in the packet. One of the things we're really trying to do is, in the past several years, this has been a staff-driven committee. We choose the speakers, and you provide feedback to those speakers. We'd like it reversed. We'd like you to get direction from the EDA committee, telling us what you want us to prioritize and what speakers, what type of industries you want to bring into these meetings, so that we can learn from them and you can learn from them. So that's one of the things we really want to flip-flop, is to have you be more of a partner, as far as, instead of someone that just listens to people that come in and educate.
So this is just the first step in the process of developing the strategic plan, which we'll kind of touch on here in a little bit. But the intent was to gather all your feedback on where you as a group envision the EDA going, and get that set, and then we'll work through our strategic planning after that, which we've kind of started. I've been taking lots of notes, things that came from the worksheet from the mission and vision statement, and then also the last meeting when we went around the room. And then I also gave just a 2-question survey to the commissioners to gather their feedback, which we'll go over next. But this is all building the framework for that strategic plan.
Okay.
So,
Molly, you have anything else to add, or?
I don't think so.
Commissioner?
Can I be last? I don't want to hear everybody else's.
Okay, but you still only get 2 minutes. Whether you go first or last.
I say I know that you had said, before that, vision and mission statements should be a little more, not as
Yep.
lengthy. And some of the, just some comments in reading through this, I want to make sure that we're clarifying the whole, economic growth is, it revolves around making sure that there's affordable housing opportunities for a workforce. There's opportunities for access to childcare, and different things like that. So I'm just kind of curious, do we kind of have this in a way?
That kind of goes on more specifically into the strategic plan, I think,
Okay.
is when we'll start bullet pointing those specific areas and come up with action plans.
Okay. Otherwise, I thought that everything looks really good.
Excuse me. I'm not telling you. Under the mock vision statement, I like everything you have where you have either or. I personally prefer the or, where it says business incentives, access to capital, talent, recruitment, relocation assistance, and job creation and training, because that drives your economy, really. If your people have jobs, they're paying taxes and building your economy in your county. That's all I have.
There is a comment on the chat.
Yeah, I don't have a prayer on this one.
I can read it. It says, I feel we are here to support and attract new business and residents in and for Sherburne County. I like this statement in the vision: business development, growth, retention, and expansion solutions.
All right. I'm fine with both the vision and the mission. Like Molly, they're not really my strong points. I tend to do better with strategic plans than I do visions, but I think it'll work for what we're doing.
Do you have any input on the either or that are on there? Okay.
No, I like everything on here. The only thing that stuck out to me, being an industrial guy,
on our mock mission statement says, our hope is that through the work of the EDA, and I've always said that hope is a beautiful thing, but a really poor strategy. So that's something that's.
I did have that stick out in my head too.
So,
How about goal?
exactly, something like that, changing hope to goal. Again, it's wordsmithing as Ken was talking to, but other than that, I love everything that's on here.
So, yeah, I like it as well. One thing I was just thinking about, maybe if there was any addition of like, support like all stages of businesses, because sometimes like some of the small businesses, I think like starting out might be a little bit, well, I don't know if they're gonna even entertain anything from me because I'm so small, I'm just starting out, so. That would be the only thing I would think that would maybe.
Is there a way you could add that, Jessica?
So growth for all stages of businesses.
There you go.
I do like the business incentives, access to capital. I think that kind of goes to your point as well. You know, a lot of these small businesses, they're not quite sure what kind of incentives are out there for the businesses or what kind of access they do have to the capital. And the only other comment I have is, while I was doing this, I was reading a lot of different EDAs, and not necessarily just from here, but other states too. And with the wordsmithing, I think the increase, expanding the county tax base, has to be careful, because a lot of them, it sounded, when you read it, you got the impression that they're just trying to raise the taxes. So maybe if there was something in there that you could tie into expanding the county's property values. Because in reality, that's going to increase the taxes itself. It doesn't sound like it's gonna increase taxes. So just careful on the wordsmithing, and kind of like they said, that's not my strength.
Just one comment, because we hear it in our T&T meetings. Taxpayers understand that you increase their property values, their taxes are gonna go up. And so, because we heard it very loud and clear because of where the market went. So I guess I understand what you're saying, but anytime you say increase to anything, they're gonna equate taxes.
Expand the county's business base, counties.
Keep it as simple as that. Maybe.
Yeah, that would work. Laura, you have a comment?
You can only type in the chat.
Oh,
I think she's in another meeting, so.
Put it in the chat, that's your comment.
okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, and I'll go through and incorporate all that feedback, and we'll have our final statements, which I'll send out in a follow-up email. And if there's anything alarming or life-altering that I did not hit the mark on, just send me an email back and let me know. Okay? All right, and then the next, any more on that? Okay. Then the next item on the agenda is the commissioner feedback, which I have here too, which I'll pass around. So Dan and I had gone through the 2018-2020 strategic plan, and we gave an update to the commissioners, and then we also gave an update to EDA. And so when I was forming the new strategic plan, I took the overall objectives of the previous one, slid them over, and then incorporated some of those areas where we can still work on, or where we didn't quite meet our goals in the previous strategic plan. And so the first question that I asked the commissioners was about the overall objectives. So we're thinking long range, very broad. What are some continual objectives that we're looking to just continually work towards? And then the second question that I asked was directly related to the last meeting that the EDA had. And I think it was Felix who asked what is a priority of the EDA, and we went right around the table and everyone said one or two words, and we wrote down every single one of those words, and then I brought those to the commissioners and just had them prioritize in order what they thought the EDA should focus on as the highest priority, down to the lowest priority. So the first question, the commissioners, it just have them listed as 5 respondents. They all agreed that marketing Sherburne County was one of the top overall objectives that we should be focusing on. And then from there, we have allocated staff time efficiently and effectively and use financial incentives and tools efficiently. Then also distribute the county's economic development fund in a strategic and successful manner. And then there was quite a tie among the level 3s there. Enhance quality of life, create living wage jobs, expand the county's property tax base, and maximize value of public facilities. And then the last one being invest resources in transportation and technology infrastructure. There were several other, I did have a free type space in there that if there was any other objectives that maybe we missed that they would like included. And that is a list there, develop a deeper understanding. I won't read through all of those, but what I did with those is I incorporated them all back into the strategic plan, and I do have a rough draft of that, which you guys will get after this meeting. And then the areas of focus. So the way I'm envisioning this plan to look, and so that it is an actionable working document, is that there are 10 overall strategic objectives. And now this is a rough draft of the plan, and everything but the kitchen sink is included in there. So anything I've heard you guys say is included in there. Everything we didn't complete from the previous plan era is included in there. So this plan will have to be gone through by you guys and, trimmed down. So I have the overall strategic objectives, and then we have those areas of focus. Each of those areas of focus are working towards one of our long-range strategic objectives. Under the area of focus, we're going to have very specific goals. Like one of the areas of focus is, let's see, what's our highest one? Our highest one is going to be the lowest. So we'll say business retention and expansion is the highest priority that the Board of Commissioners said. So one of our goals under there is to develop and implement a business retention and expansion program and complete, we'll say 75 business retention and expansion visits within the year. What's our strategy? We're gonna have a strategy to complete that. So I've been researching softwares. I've collaborated with the economic development professionals and all of the cities, and we've done demos on software. So these are things that we're actually going to be able to have a goal and a strategy to complete that goal, check it off, expand it, and then move on. So that's the goal of this plan.
I have one quick question on that. When you were talking with the economic development people in all the cities and stuff, and I know that a good number of cities have already been doing this for a while. Mm-hmm. Was there any input from them that they feel that this is a very valued strategy to be able to proceed and it produces results?
Definitely. So the feedback that I got, so I had done some legwork and found a couple different softwares that I thought would be great. And then I also had a recommendation from the Golden Shovel on a couple of them. I did some demos, and the one that I felt would be the most beneficial to use on a county-wide scale was called Executive Pulse. And so I did the one demo, and then I invited all the city economic development professionals and community development professionals to sit in on a second demo. And the way that software works is it's one fee for the entire county, but each city or township or whoever's completing economic and community development for that area has their own login. They can only view their area and their region. It's all branded, like the city of Elk River, all their reports, all of their everything would all be branded in there. But we can essentially tag each other. So if I complete a visit in Elk River, I can tag Brent and Josh. or if Therese completes a visit in Big Lake, she can tag me, so that we're able to see, we're able to let each other know, hey, you know, when Therese was in Big Lake, this business really was looking for this from the county. She can leave me that note and I can follow up with it. So it really creates a collaborative effort. Now, I think we're in a really unique position in doing this because everybody, all of the people in these positions are new across the county. Becker's new, Big Lake's new, Elk River's got Josh that's new, Princeton has a new person. So everyone's really eager to get together and really kind of lean into each other's strengths and make this work. So I think it's a really good time and opportunity to launch a program like this. And the feedback that I got from them, they're really excited to collaborate. And we actually have another meeting, all of us, I think if it's not next Monday, it's the following Monday, to just get together and have a face-to-face discussion on what this is gonna look like and really develop a good plan for that, so, yes.
That's good to hear, because I just know, prior, the focus of the individual, EDA directors, when you went into those meetings with those businesses, it was always, what can we do for you? And not that second question, and what would the county be able to do? So that's good to hear that, because I think that's a second very, very relevant question, so it's good to hear.
Do you have a copy of your survey that you bring with you?
I don't have it with me, but I can send it out.
But it's about 30 questions. It's pretty detailed and should provide a lot of that information.
Yep, and the hope is that we're just inviting each other
Yeah.
to each other's business retention meetings.
We're connecting our silos.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. So, but that's an overall kind of look on what I'm hoping the strategic plan's gonna look like. Again, business retention, expansion, and workforce was the first priority. Housing, policy review and updates, broadband, childcare, federal designation of it as an EDD, an economic development district, and transportation, and then centralized marketing. I thought it was kind of interesting, and I'm gonna totally take it on this one. The centralized marketing, I'm not quite sure that the commissioners, it wasn't a good wording to use centralized marketing on my part. So under the long-range strategic objectives, that was number one. But when we come down to the priorities, it was the very last one, and I don't think that's what it was intended. I think that was my wording, and I picked the wrong word. Marketing, I do feel is definitely a priority for them. You can step in if I'm not correct, Rayanne.
No, I found that interesting too, when it was like,
Yeah.
okay, it was number one in another category, but it ended up on the bottom in this one.
Yeah.
But I think all of these, I think 1 through 6, they just all play together. It just isn't gonna be as defined as
Right.
that. But yes, I agree with you on that one.
So, I do have a copy of what are your guys' thoughts on the commissioner feedback survey?
Commissioner Halls, who couldn't be here today, did have a few notes. He focuses on product and promotion. What are our strengths and how do we promote those strengths? So that's part of the business retention, is finding out why a business chose Sherburne County, why they stay here, why they choose to expand here, and what can we do to help. So Jared, I'm wondering if we could have, I know we're walking through your facility here in a week or two. You fill out that survey for us and then present it to us next month so people can see what we're asking, if those are the right questions, and get feedback.
Yep.
But a lot of that is, why did Cargill choose to be here? Why do you stay here? But then there's a lot of detail that goes with that. So maybe that'd be one way we could utilize that visit we have here in 10 days or so.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I've always said, what can we entice you to come across the river with everything? I always tell them that. It would not be a meeting without me mentioning that. Get out of downtown Monticello.
Okay, so that's,
As usual, I'll run it up the chain,
All right, you get what you needed there, Jessica? Yeah.
Did you bring the copy of the strategic plan you have already?
I have it here.
Okay. She's done a pretty good job of putting this together already, but it'll be modified based on the feedback we get. So that's actually the homework from this meeting, correct? We'll modify it based on the feedback today, bring it back in March, and hopefully approve it in April. But she's put a lot of work into this, did a nice job.
And I know that we all appreciate, I mean, I know that she was talking about, what the commissioner's thoughts are, but we need to also make sure that we're getting all of the feedback, because as businesses, that's where it really is important to hear. What is it that, I can have my thoughts, but that doesn't mean it's going to, what do we need to do to make that attractive?
Yep. I
And when we
think,
say business retention, we do include the nonprofits too. Jessica started to meet with the nonprofits as well, so it's not just businesses.
yeah, nonprofits, and then we actually had a conversation about childcare, doing business retention and expansion visits with like in-home childcare providers, seeing what we can do to lift them up. So that'll likely be an industry that's targeted. But that's gonna be the nuts and bolts of that strategic plan when we're developing specific goals. And Rayanne, to your point about, really gathering the feedback of this group, when we're in the nuts and bolts of this plan and figuring out so we've got an area of focus of childcare. What are our goals to really focus in on that? And how are we gonna accomplish those? That's where your guys' feedback is gonna be particularly valuable and critical to add in there, so.
Yes, because I know for sure my goal is that when this documentation gets done and finalized, that it just doesn't sit on the shelf. It is continually
I don't think
used.
there's any, threat of that,
I'm just,
talking with our,
right, well, and I'm just saying, I mean, I know that sometimes we have all the best intentions, we go through all of this, and then we get it done, and then it's like, oh, God, that's done. Thank goodness,
comp plans are historic for that, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why you follow up with the next steps. Yeah.
I have a question about this. Is this like a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Unless we don't get it done by April, then it turns into.
Well, I was just
4.
curious, because some of them, a lot of times nowadays are working strategic plans. Like you set it, you do your plan, and then you review it every year, and you tweak it.
Yeah, we could do that.
Definitely.
It's just a suggestion from boards I've been on that
Good idea.
that's what we do.
I think our goal is to have a 5-minute update at every meeting with
Yeah, and
what we're
like kind of a
accomplishing.
check-in, like, are you red, yellow, or green on your goals? Are you hitting the mark? Are you not hitting the mark? Do you need help? What do you need to get it done from the board?
And I always look at these as a form of a living, breathing, evolving
Yes.
document.
That's what, you said it better than I did. Thank you.
The only, and I've been on boards that follow that system too. One thing I have noticed that we have to be kind of wary of is with the living document mentality, sometimes it kicks out like at the end date, like the actionable, we need this done by this date because this is ongoing. And so I've had, one particular board where we had to kind of steer that back because we weren't really,
Is that going forever?
we were more kicking it down the road than getting it done because it was, an ongoing document. That's how it was presented and it sounded great, but it really became an ongoing tasks, you know what I mean? So, I think it works, it's just that, I like the way that there's, 75 visits in a year or whatever that actionable, measurable, as long as we can keep it measurable, I guess is what I'm saying, however it's worded.
Can I add something to that? That's what I was getting at
Absolutely.
with the dashboard. I call it a dashboard. And you've got your goals, and it's just like a one-page sheet. You got your goals laid out, and you're making progress on them. It's the red, the green, and the yellow. And that's what holds you accountable to getting that plan done. And then you have notes as to what you've accomplished. And if it's, if it's red, there's definitely an area for improvement or an opportunity is what we call it, but for change.
Okay.
And ongoing might be misleading, because to me, ongoing can also be like, we are continuing, we're working on this consistently, still touching base consistently, but maybe should be recognized as.
Yeah, and Jessica has that on her completion dates if it's an ongoing,
Yeah.
Something that's gonna be going forever, so. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is that it's workable and understandable for the people that are actually going to be doing most of the work and understanding that, whatever format that is, 100%.
Do we have a lot of communication with the zoning department? Because it seems like that's where anybody that's gonna start a business or make any changes, it always kinda, you're always at the zoning department, so I'm gonna build this building or something like that where we're getting input back from the zoning department, hey, these people are looking at doing this or something like that.
And, Dan's, a little more engaged with their office over the last year. So yeah, I think that is starting to come in with Jessica also, being able to, be a point of contact, me to direct people to her. So I think that is, and if not an initiative, it's something that staff is taking on.
So I go to their staff meetings every week, and now Mark's starting to come to these meetings, so we are trying to build that partnership.
And we're in the process of doing our comprehensive plan overall. So that is also addressing different zoning issues and stuff. One thing everybody has to remember though is, what are we defining as like a startup business and quote unquote in-home or in your garage or whatever, and knowing that most of those are gonna be in usually neighborhoods. And so to be respectful of the neighborhood that is a residential neighborhood as well. And I know that we do have some limits on the size of an accessory structure that you can build. And usually for the purpose of Mark can probably speak to it better than I can, but the purpose of making sure that we're aware of what kind of businesses might be starting up. If you build something that is, what do we allow right now, 1,800?
So home business, 1,800 square feet, home business in an accessory building, and we get kind of across the board for those type of operations. Small little boutique on Briggs, they're converting a old single stall salon into this little boutique up on Briggs Lake. It's a new request coming in to full-blown manufacturing operation, machining operations in those accessory buildings. So it is a pretty broad range, and right now it's at 1,800 square feet.
Then recently we had a request come in to put in a home business. The gentleman wanted to repair motorcycles in his garage, which is great because he was looking to, upon his retirement, take that next step. And I think he'll be totally successful, but we want to make sure that we get that next step out of that residential neighborhood and into areas where it is more meant to be. So there's that balance that we have to try to meet all the time.
So are you seeing a lot of that next step, or is it just from are they ever leaving
Most
the
of them-
neighborhood, or are they?
They start and they kind of do it for a while, then kind of go, they kind of have a short life cycle. People move out of their homes, go to new locations, so I think we see a little bit more turnover, in businesses just by relocating. They maybe want a different opportunity, but most of them, don't see a ton of upscaling their business into the next level.
There's a couple CMRP attachments in Clear Lake. I think it's Derek Kent out of Becker Township. He was
Okay.
at his home, moved into Clear Lake. He's already expanded 3 times in Clear Lake. Jag out of Zimmerman.
Yep.
They were out of their garage. They
Right.
built. So we do have
Some
some of that, yeah. And that's our goal, is to help them take that next step.
Liverland Brewing was a home-based.
Sport Tech was too.
Right.
So there are the success stories, but I mean, the volume of permits that we do, it's still pretty high. That maybe don't make that transition, but again, that connection to economic development, the business planning, the business lab, trying to coach these folks into, what their aspiration, help them kind of reach their goals, I think is what we have some ability to do now, and I see that in some of the feedback from the commissioners about, providing resources and trying to help steer them in the mission statement too, of trying to guide these businesses to maybe what their next step might be.
Isometric's another example out of Big
Yeah.
Lake. They were in a residential
Yeah.
home and they built their own facility
Well,
in Big Lake.
Actually, they bought a place that they thought, because there was a previous business operating under it without any county CUP or anything. So when they bought it, they thought they could just start their business and found out that that was a sandblasting company, and found out no. So then they came, and through the working with the county and the city, they were able to find them a location where they ended up. But that's where I think the collaboration is very effective, is when someone is ready, like I view this person who, with motorcycles and small engine repair and such, totally necessary out here in our communities, but we can work with them and get them mentally when they're ready to take that step into, I'll use Big Lake as an example because I know Big Lake, the I-4 area where you can build a structure that is more what are we calling it, post-beam construction, Ken?
More conducive to the startup and the
Yeah.
smaller business.
Not the expensive tip-ups and some of the costs that you can incur by other standards in other zoned areas and stuff. So we're trying to create these opportunities for small businesses.
Great. Get what you need, Jessica?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted, just because it's something I just noticed, and this is a question for the surveys, for the businesses. Transportation rated very low by our county commissioners, but from a land use side, I'm starting to, be concerned about the bottlenecks occurring in Sherburne County and that limiting businesses wanting to come here. I didn't know, being such a low priority, doesn't show up at all in the strategic, the plan, because it is something, it's even just that you can still place support behind initiatives for transportation improvements and those type of things. So maybe EDA is not leading it, but that there's still that opportunity to support the I-94 corridor coalition, CMRP's efforts. So I just wanted to make that, because it kind of landed as a very low priority, but I think it's a major factor. And I'm not sure if it's a question in the survey, how much does transportation impact business location? Or their choices to come into Big Lake because of the challenges going through Elk River, challenges going through Monty. So
A lot of those initiatives are led by commissioners. If we have a committee, the commissioners are actually on those. So I don't think it wasn't a priority. It's just they're handling that area.
Okay.
And they're passing a lot of these things down to staff.
That's why I was wondering if it was more an initiative outside. Okay.
I think it should be in that questionnaire, though. I think it's vitally important that every person is asked, how does transportation play a role or impede?
Talk about your example that you just had last week in Big Lake.
Yeah, we did a business retention visit with Eastie Enterprises, and we actually did Eastie, we did Paragon, and we did Calco, and all in the business park over on Big Lake. And one of the issues that Eastie brought up was the access on and off Highway 10 there for their big semis. It's incredibly difficult for them to get on and off Highway 10.
Without a lighted intersection.
Yes, so they really want that road complete that goes back behind and connects to 43. And that's been a conversation, I can't say it's been a conversation, but it is also a concern that David, who's the CEO of Eastie, told me that Premier Marine has also expressed, because they've got the same issue getting on and off the highway there.
And part of the problem is, and this is where transportation and a focus on it plays a big role, is because at the moment, the city's stance is the developer pays for it, so it's a build as you go, instead of making the connection, which would open up the opportunity for businesses to not have to put that in their forefront. So that's something too that maybe the county could play a part in regards to that road should be done and not wait for someone to buy 80 acres of the Smith property, or the person who does buy the acreage in the front of the Smith property has to bear the majority of that cost until the Smith property develops. And so this build as you go can be a deterrent as well.
Yeah, one thing to maybe keep in mind is, so it's been said by some people in economic development, everything's on economic development. And you can say that. However, we may need to make some hard decisions as a group to what our priorities are and what we can actually have enough staff, energy, and time to focus on to move. So transportation is obviously important to new businesses, but, just as an example, but is the EDA board, is that a number one priority? Can we move the needle enough in transportation, knowing that all the other departments statewide and whatnot, MnDOT, that come into this stuff, is it a good place for our energy? And I'm not saying it is or isn't, but I think we're gonna have a few of those through the strategic plan that, yes, this is important, but you know what? We realistically cannot make huge gains. That's better left to the commissioners or to, but like you said, yeah, we can support it, obviously, but maybe not specifically on our strategic plan.
that in regards to the commissioners and knowing that, and I'm just